guys, what's going on? Andrew coming at you, and back by popular demand, here are 7 more things that would terrify most Americans. I'm going to put my opinions a little bit more in this one for comedic value, so I hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. Number 1, the Systembolaget. The Systembolaget is where you go to buy alcohol. It is open at very distinct times. So where I am, it closes at 7 o'clock. It's open on Saturdays until 3. It's not open on Sunday. And that's pretty much it. You can't buy beer cold, and you can buy beers in individual case. There's not like an easy carrying case. Like you can pick up a case of beer, but like the beer's hanging out of it and you'll hold it this way. It's not like you go to the States and you get like a 30 pack, like an easy carrying case that's either cold or warm, depending on if you're planning on drinking it right away or not. Sweden has a lot of restrictive laws with alcohol because many, many years ago they had problems with alcohol and it just seems to be a bit restrictive. And if you're an American and you go to this place on a Friday or a Saturday, there's a huge line, you're waiting a very long time, you basically have to plan when you're drinking. It's not something you can do spontaneous. You can't have a friend call you like Friday night and be like, yo, do you want to go to a party? You can, but you're not going to be able to take the alcohol with you that you want. And it's also something where you always have to have a little bit of alcohol in pregame before you go out because alcohol is just super expensive. You just can't go to a bar and then that's going to be your first drink and your drinks for the night out because you're going to break the bank. Trust me on that one. It is not the way to go. I think most Americans would find the Systembolaget to be kind of restrictive and would think that, like, why can't I make my own decisions about what I do with myself? Swedes like it and think overall it's a necessary evil to have so that they have less people drinking all the time. To be fair, it would be really, we do have alcoholics and people that have issues in Sweden, but I think it's also extremely hard to do just because of how expensive it would be to drink every day. So for me personally, I like less restrictive laws, but hey, it works in Sweden, so let's go. Number 2 has to be like how we do the date in Sweden and week numbers. I never heard of, like, basically our dates are like in reverse. So if we're going to talk about in the US, we would say the month first, the date, and then the year. A lot of times you have the date first, then the month, then the year in a lot of cases that I've noticed. And also we use week numbers. So a lot of times people will say like, hey, we're going to do this Monday, week 44. And I would be like, week 44? It's just not something common that we do in the States. So it's a little terrifying at first when you learn of something really important you have to do for work and you find out it's like week 39. You got to know what week 39 is on a Wednesday. A lot of times that's how I've gotten information. There's a day attached with it as well sometimes, but sometimes I've just gotten the week and the day, and then I got to know when that day is. That's terrifying to an American because it's like something we're not used to, and it's very easy to get the dates messed up in our heads and make mistakes. So that is number 2. Number 3 has to be nudity. See, in America, we love our sports, we love our violent TV shows, we love our violent video games, but if we see a nipple, it's the end of the world. If you want an example of this, Janet Jackson had a pasty over her nipple that got exposed during the Super Bowl halftime show, and it was a huge controversy. So many people were so upset. And I remember coming to Sweden, I was at a hotel the first time, flicking through the channels, and I saw, breasts. I've been watching TV shows in Sweden where I saw a guy just stripped down naked and jump in the water. What's interesting is that it's not like it's in your face and they're shoving it in front of you as much as it's just a normal part of what you would see on TV, and it's not looked at in the same way. See, most Swedes would probably find hardcore violence that you see disturbing, but not nudity. For some reason in America, I think it has a lot to do with our religious history. We kind of look at the body with a lot of shame and not as a natural thing. Where in Sweden, it's more of a natural thing. There's not naked people running around everywhere, but if you're going swimming or if you're in a sauna with your friends, you might see someone naked. It happens, and it's not really a big deal. And personally, I think that's better than being ashamed of everything. Number 4 has to be co-ed bathrooms. A big culture shock for me is if you go to a train station or a public area. It's not always the case, but you'll go into these bathrooms. For one, you have to pay to use the bathroom. That would terrify most Americans. I ain't paying 10 crowns. Look, I've lived in Sweden for a long time. I still hate paying to use the bathroom. It just feels so un-American. But anyways, you go into these areas and there's guys and there's girls using the bathroom at the same time. I'm not used to that, but it's not that weird when you actually go in the stall because no one can see what you're doing. It's actually covered. For some reason in the States, we always have that gap. And a lot of restaurants and places, they'll have a bathroom for guys and girls, but in a lot of cases as well, you'll just see a bathroom for everybody. And check it out. You go in, you shut the door, no one can see what you're doing. In the States, we're arguing about bathrooms so much and transgender bathrooms, and to me, it's just like, I think the best case scenario is just make a bathroom that a person can go in and be private and leave it at that. It's just such an easy solution, and it seems to be we don't have controversies in Sweden about who's using the bathroom. Everybody's just using the bathroom because they need to use the bathroom. Number 5 has to be atheism. You know, one question I've never been asked in Sweden is, what church do you go to? But that's not something that I mean, talking about church, talking about religion, I would say America's a lot less religious now than it was, let's say, 30 years ago. But still, it's woven into society. A lot of people are religious. Personally, I don't have a problem with someone being religious or not religious, but Sweden is the least, I mean, there's like no religion in Sweden. I would say that like 5% of the population is probably religious and goes to church. But an interesting fact about Sweden is a lot of people actually give a portion of their taxes to the Swedish church. It comes out of your taxes automatically unless you opt out of it. I don't mind giving the money to the Swedish church because our buildings here in Sweden are so old, they're so beautiful, they need upkeep to stay going. There's so much history to these buildings. Like, you look at buildings in the States and they're like a couple hundred years old. Number 6. But first, our video is sponsored by Skillshare.
Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators, exploring new skills, deepening existing passions, and get lost in creativity. You can take classes like photography, music, film and video, illustration. My Sambo has been using Skillshare for over 2 years and is happy and loves it. I, for one, am excited to watch YouTube Success Scripts shoot and edit with MKBHD, Marcus Brownie, one of my favorite YouTubers. And it's so much fun and interesting to just see his process and how he thinks and learn from one of the best. It's curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads, there's always launching new premium classes so you can stay focused and follow whatever your creativity takes you. It's the perfect thing to do right now with the current world situation. Why not learn something? They're running a special offer through my channel. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare so you can start exploring your creativity today.
Thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring my video. I've been a big fan of the service. My girlfriend's a big fan of the service. You can try it out for free. I say give it a shot. I think you'll love it. Number 6 has to be PostNord. PostNord is like our postal service here in Sweden. Now in Sweden we have many different options, but this is like more of the, I would compare it to like the US Postal Service. I tend to go with a lot of our other services like Early Bird, for example, Bring. We have a lot of Budbee. We have a lot of other options, and if I had the choice between PostNord and these other services, I go with the other services because personally I think they do a much better job of delivering stuff. Good that we have more competition in Sweden. Number 7 has to be sexual education in Sweden. See, in Sweden, they start to learn about sexual education at a younger age, and it's just more common. It's more common for people to learn sexual education. And when I was in the States, it's not guaranteed that you're going to get sexual education. It depends on what state you live in. In my state, and where I was in school, my parents had to sign a waiver for me to learn how to use a condom, to learn about STDs. But people were able to come to my school and tell me, and just preach abstinence. They basically came to school and said, hey guys, if you don't want to get STDs, just don't have sex. I remember sitting there being like, wow, thanks. I really learned a lot from this. Thank you so much. There are a lot of states where you don't get to learn about STDs or sex education. And the sad thing is a lot of the states that don't have it mandatory have some of the worst teenage pregnancy across the country. You know, you would think states that are against abortion would be more pro like sex education. So why not actually set kids up for success? I really believe part of being a responsible adult is also being responsible sexually and protecting yourself and protecting your partner and trying to do the right things now in society. And we need to make more responsible adults. We have to get this idea that it's bad out of the way. There is nothing wrong if you want to be abstinent and wait till you want to get married. That's fine. I have no issues with that. However, we live in the real world, and the real world says that people are going to have sex. So let's prepare for it and let's do the right thing. So guys, this is my 7. I had fun with this one. What are your thoughts on this one? Was I right? Was I wrong? What is your personal opinion on this? If you're American, what is your feelings about this? Would you be terrified of this or not? Because not every American would be, but I'm kind of saying that half the country would not be cool with this. So, thanks again, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Hej då!